Welcome to the Dynasty Warriors Iceberg. In this video, we're going to take a deep dive into some of the obscure aspects of our favorite ancient China hack and slash video game. This iceberg we'll be looking at today was created by myself, but I couldn't have done it without a ton of help from the Warriors community. I can't even take credit for the original idea. For all credits, check the description and stick around until the end of the video. A big thanks to all of you who helped out either on the r/Dynasty Warriors subreddit or Discord server. Links to those in the description as well. With that out of the way, let's dive into the Dynasty Warriors Iceberg. Tier 1. Musou. Musou is an important concept in Dynasty Warriors. It roughly translates to unmatched and is the series' namesake in Japan. Just like we call Warriors games, Warriors games in the West, these games are called Musou games in Japan. Musou is also the name for the iconic ultimate attacks of each character. Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Romance of the Three Kingdoms is a 14th century historical fiction novel about the Three Kingdoms period of ancient China, which is the setting for Dynasty Warriors. It is regarded as one of the four great classical novels of Chinese literature and one of the most influential novels of all time. Dynasty Warriors borrows more from the novel than it does from actual historical events of the time period. Without ROTK, as it's called, there would likely be no Dynasty Warriors. Do not pursue Lu Bu. Do not pursue Lu Bu is without a doubt the most iconic line in Warriors history. The line is said in some form in almost every Dynasty Warriors game at the Battle of Hulao Gate. The player is typically advised to stay away from Lu Bu as the already crazy strong character usually has deadly buffs applied to him at this battle. It's usually good advice, as in some games, Lu Bu can take you out in just a couple hits if you decide to fight him head on. Kessen 2. Kessen 2 is a strategy game developed by Koei, the company behind Warriors games, released in 2001. Kessen 2 is also somewhat based on Romance of the Three Kingdoms, but leans heavily into the fantasy and magic aspects of the novel. The story of Kessen 2 is completely fictional and bears almost no resemblance to even the more fictional parts of Dynasty Warriors. Dynasty Tactics. Dynasty Tactics is a tactical game also developed by Koei. Dynasty Tactics is on the other end of the realism spectrum when compared to Kessen 2. While it still has fictional aspects, Tactics is a more grounded version of the Three Kingdoms when compared to even Dynasty Warriors. Both Kessen 2 and Dynasty Tactics utilize some models and voice actors from Dynasty Warriors as well, making them almost spin-offs of Dynasty Warriors. Dynasty Warriors, originally a fighter. While Dynasty Warriors spearheaded the 1 vs 1000 hack and slash genre, it didn't start out that way. The first Dynasty Warriors game is actually a fighting game, and a pretty unremarkable one at that. Let's just say that they made the right move switching genres. For my review on that game and reviews on every Dynasty Warriors game, check out my I Played Every Dynasty Warriors game video right here. Strike Force. Dynasty Warriors Strike Force is an interesting spin-off that is almost more similar to Monster Hunter than it is Dynasty Warriors. Instead of fighting wars and battles, the player now does a bunch of missions throughout the game and has a Super Saiyan-like power-up ability called Fury Form. Strike Force never really caught on, but it is a somewhat refreshing take on Warriors games. Godseekers. Dynasty Warriors Godseekers, on the other hand, was not as much of a refreshing take. Godseekers is a tactical spin-off somewhat similar to Fire Emblem games. The story follows series poster boy Zhao Yun and some new friends in a fictional story set in the Dynasty Warriors universe. The game was not very well received and left many just wanting the return of Dynasty Tactics. Dynasty Warriors Online. Dynasty Warriors Online is exactly what it sounds like, and I loved it. In Dynasty Warriors Online, you chose your kingdom and then went and fought in large-scale, team-based PvP battles. We only got English servers from 2010 to 2014, but the game was special for Warriors fans wanting a true multiplayer PvP experience. And I could be wrong, but I think it's shutting down in Asia soon as well, if it hasn't already. Renbu. Renbu is almost a curse word in the Warriors community. I don't think Renbu has an actual translation, but essentially it was Omega Force's attempt to revamp the combat in Dynasty Warriors 6. Instead of the typical combat where your character's weapon level determined how many moves you could perform, the new Renbu gauge now determined how many moves you could do. The Renbu system is very divisive, mostly because your Renbu gauge filled up very slowly and could drop to zero very quickly. The Renbu system also simplified an already very basic combat system. Instead of pressing square a few times and then triangle, you either just mash square or mash triangle with Renbu. For many Warriors fans, including myself, Renbu makes Dynasty Warriors 6 practically unplayable. Weapon changes. In almost every Dynasty Warriors game, new characters and weapons were added. Occasionally, a character will have their weapon changed between games. Depending on the character or the weapon, this can be a good or bad thing. For example, Sun Ce losing his iconic Tonfas is a weapon change that many fans are still upset about. However, Cao Cao, Liu Bei, and many others all getting their own unique swords rather than each sharing a single sword moveset was a great weapon change. The Fourth Kingdom. While Dynasty Warriors is based on Romance of the Three Kingdoms, a fourth kingdom was included in more recent Dynasty Warriors games. This kingdom is called Jin, led by Sima Yi, Sima She, and Sima Zhao. Jin is the kingdom created by the Sima family after overthrowing Wei and then defeating Shu and eventually Wu. Jin did not last long though and fell to invaders not long after seizing control of China. Voice acting. Voice acting has always been an interesting part of Dynasty Warriors, to say the least. The voice acting in Dynasty Warriors 3 is some of the most meme-worthy early 2000s voice acting you'll ever find.
Feel the power of my magic! Though my body may die, my spirit will live forever.
The voice acting was pretty good from Dynasty Warriors 4 to Dynasty Warriors 8. Dynasty Warriors 9 though, well, it's bad. Really bad.
This victory is all thanks to the efforts of Wang Yi. Tonight's special banquet will be in his honor.
After that, then will all of you finally begin to follow me?
Of course. I will gather the greatest warriors, and we will ensure that you will not be alone.
I will look forward to that.
Color coordination. If there's one thing that can never happen in the Dynasty Warriors universe, it's friendly fire. Wu is red, Wei is blue, Shu is green. These colors are so iconic that I've seen Three Kingdoms media completely unrelated to Dynasty Warriors use this color scheme despite it being completely historically inaccurate. Archers. In earlier Dynasty Warriors games, archers are the most deadly foe you'll face, right next to Lu Bu himself. Have fun replaying battles because a group of archers you can barely see just drained your health bar and killed you for the 20th time in a row. They're very annoying. Extreme Legends and Empires. Extreme Legends and Empires are the names of the two typical spin-off games that every Dynasty Warriors game receives. Extreme Legends is similar to adding DLC content, while Empires is a light strategy spin-off of a typical Dynasty Warriors game. Cao Cao and Cao Pi. Cao Cao and Cao Pi are both mispronunciations of the names Cao Cao and Cao Pi, two of the most important characters in Dynasty Warriors. I shouldn't have to explain why these mispronunciations are infamous.
I am Cao Pi. Like my father, Cao Cao.
Handhelds. Dynasty Warriors received a number of handheld games that many people may not know about. Dynasty Warriors games can be found on the PSP, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS, and even the PS Vita. Samurai Warriors. Samurai Warriors is a spin-off series of Dynasty Warriors, also created by Koei Tecmo, of course. The gameplay is pretty similar, but the game takes place in the Sengoku period of Japanese history rather than in ancient China. God of War. There is one Dynasty Warriors character that is pretty famous outside of Dynasty Warriors, and that's Guan Yu, the God of War and god of many other things. Besides just being a very important figure in Chinese culture, you'll find Guan Yu in games like Smite, Overwatch, and plenty more. Tier 2. Licensed credit songs. A few Dynasty Warriors games use licensed songs for their credits, even as recently as Dynasty Warriors 8. These songs are all bangers too, not gonna lie. Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones is a negative term that some Warriors fans use to describe a Dynasty Warriors game that features a lot of characters using the same moveset. Sadly, this term is still very relevant, as it is a pretty good way to describe the newest Dynasty Warriors game, Dynasty Warriors 9. Clones recognize each other. In older Dynasty Warriors games, you could edit cutscenes by changing out certain characters, which would result in the dialogue changing. For certain cutscenes, some characters will acknowledge that they are going to go fight a clone of themselves. The most famous example being Guan Yu marching to fight another Guan Yu at Fawn Castle.
We must fight Guan Yu.
I am my own opponent? This will be difficult.
Number discrepancies. The numbers of Dynasty Warriors titles do not match in the West and in Japan. For example, the newest Dynasty Warriors game in the West is Dynasty Warriors 9. That same game is called Shin Sengoku Musou 8 in Japan. This is because the very first Dynasty Warriors game, the fighting one, isn't technically part of the same series as the hack and slash games. The first Dynasty Warriors is simply titled Sengoku Musou, while Dynasty Warriors 2 is titled Shin Sengoku Musou. Dynasty Warriors 2 and 3 soundtracks. The soundtracks for Dynasty Warriors 2 and 3 are both extremely similar. Much of 3's soundtrack are just remasters and slight remixes of the songs in Dynasty Warriors 2. Asia-only releases. There are a few Dynasty Warriors games that only released in Asia. Some examples include Strike Force 2, Shin Sengoku Musou Versus, and Dynasty Warriors Online Z. Lu Lingqi. Lu Lingqi is one of the more popular Dynasty Warriors characters, and the daughter of Lu Bu. While she was first introduced to the series in 2013 in Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends, her iconic white hair design first debuted 10 years earlier in Dynasty Tactics 2. Lei Bin. Lei Bin is a character exclusive to the tactical spin-off Dynasty Warriors Godseekers. He is a completely fictional character created to follow around poster boy Zhao Yun all game. Lei Bin, like almost every other Godseekers character, has never and probably will never appear in another Dynasty Warriors game ever again. Zhang Liao's voice change. Zhang Liao is also one of the more popular Dynasty Warriors characters, no doubt thanks in part to some great voice acting for the character. From Dynasty Warriors 6 to Dynasty Warriors 8, Zhang Liao was voiced by renowned voice actor Roger Craig Smith, most famously known for Sonic the Hedgehog. Unfortunately, Smith was replaced in Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends, and Zhang Liao's voice took a nosedive as a result.
Strength is the ability to make that what you believe in a reality.
That Yuan Shao. What a coward to be unable to face us on his own.
Unique NPCs. Despite the already massive amount of characters in Dynasty Warriors, hundreds and hundreds of NPCs are needed to truly tell the Three Kingdoms story. A few NPCs are given a unique design when compared to the hundreds of generic NPCs. Dynasty Warriors 9 had 4 unique NPCs that were eventually turned playable through paid DLC. Dynasty Warriors 6 Animification. Starting with Dynasty Warriors 6, characters began to have much more over-the-top and frankly anime-style designs rather than more relatively realistic designs. Dynasty Warriors 6 easily has the most over-the-top designs though, and since then, Dynasty Warriors has slowly been returning to more realistic designs. Misspelled names. Along with mispronunciations, some characters' names in Dynasty Warriors are also misspelled. Two prominent examples are Shu, which would more accurately be Zhu Chu, and Zhang Jiao, which would more accurately be Zhang Ju, I think. Forgive me for butchering all of these pronunciations myself. Silly weapons. Some Dynasty Warriors games include weapons with silly skins that you can unlock in-game. Some examples of this include the chain and sickle weapon becoming a gas pump, the chakrams becoming lifesavers, and the throwing axes becoming bowling pins. Dynasty Warriors 1 animations carried over. While Dynasty Warriors 1 doesn't have a lot in common with the hack and slash titles, there are a few moves carried over from Dynasty Warriors 1 that are still in Dynasty Warriors to this day, over 20 years later. Dynasty Warriors 3 Shoot Zhu opening. Shoot Zhu gets a special Easter egg in the editable opening cutscene in Dynasty Warriors 3. If you place Zhu Zhu in the elephant riding scene of the edit, he won't ride an elephant like every other character in the game. Instead, he'll charge on the ground along with the elephants like the maniac he is. Lu Bu and Diao Chan. Lu Bu and Diao Chan have an interesting mechanic in most Dynasty Warriors games. In battles where both Lu Bu and Diao Chan are your enemy, defeating Diao Chan will typically send Lu Bu into an enraged state where he becomes nearly impossible to defeat without abusing certain game mechanics. Jimquisition. James Stephanie Sterling with their show Jimquisition is perhaps the most popular YouTuber to regularly cover new Dynasty Warriors games when they release. Dynasty Warriors 9 even features as their thumbnail for their 8th highest viewed video ever. Their scathing review of Dynasty Warriors 9 is in their top 20 most viewed videos as well. They're not a complete hater of Dynasty Warriors though, as they do have some videos praising and defending the franchise. Gan Ning and Lu Meng's ages. A running joke in Dynasty Warriors is Gan Ning calling Lu Meng an old man. Now if you just look at their character models, that makes sense. Lu Meng looks older, but that's not necessarily the case. While Gan Ning's specific birthday is unknown, it's much more likely than not that he is older than Lu Meng. Just strange given their relationship is usually a major part of Wu's story mode, and it's a huge historical inaccuracy. Whipped Sima Yi. Sima Yi is one of Dynasty Warriors' most longest tenured characters, having been around since Dynasty Warriors 2. For the most part, Sima Yi is portrayed as a ruthless strategist and the only equal to the brilliant Zhuge Liang. In Dynasty Warriors 8, Sima Yi's wife, Zhang Chunhua, was added to the playable cast. From that moment, Sima Yi's character completely changed. His character became far less about scheming his way to power and more about being afraid of his wife. I think it's supposed to be funny, but it really just ended up ruining one of the better, morally gray characters in the franchise.
And so And so now, I wish to announce my withdrawal from public life.
Face glitches. Back in 2014, Dynasty Warriors went viral online with the release of Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires and the infamous face glitches. The most iconic of those glitches being the duck face glitch that created characters could get. Not a great reason to go viral. Tier 3. Pepsi Lubu and 7-Up Xiaoyun. Koei Tecmo is no stranger to some odd promotional crossovers, one of their most famous being Lubu drinking a Pepsi next. A more obscure promo was Xiaoyun posing with a 7-Up. This one goes a bit farther too, as Xiaoyun actually received a 7-Up costume in Dynasty Warriors 8. Fu Shi and Nu Hua. Modern Warriors fans may recognize Fu Shi and Nu Hua from the Warriors Orochi series, but they actually got their debut as secret characters back in Dynasty Warriors 3. While the characters do not return in Dynasty Warriors 4 or 5, their movesets remain and can be given to created characters in those games. Hideyoshi and Nobunaga in Dynasty Warriors 1. Samurai Warriors fans will definitely recognize the samurai warlords Nobunaga and Hideyoshi as main characters from those games, but they actually first appeared all the way back in Dynasty Warriors 1 as secret characters, before Samurai Warriors even existed. The reason they are featured in this game is because two of Koei's franchises, Nobunaga's Ambition and Taiko, both featured those characters way back in the 90s. Lubu & Co. in Samurai Warriors. There are a few instances of Dynasty Warriors characters appearing in Samurai Warriors games. The most notable example is Lubu appearing as a secret boss in Samurai Warriors 1. Jin isn't really Jin. The Jin Kingdom featured in Modern Warriors games isn't really Jin at all. A quick history lesson. The Jin we see in Dynasty Warriors led by the Suma family is still Wei. Jin wouldn't actually form and overthrow Wei until after the death of Sima Zhao and the fall of Shu. I'm not sure if the name Jin is ever even mentioned in any Dynasty Warriors game outside of just selecting their story mode. Suma Yan. Speaking of Jin, it was formed by Suma Yan, the son of Sima Zhao. While Suma Yan has never and may never be a playable character, he got a cameo where we do get to see the back of his head in the ending cutscene of Dynasty Warriors 7 for a few seconds. Uncredited voice actors. With a lot of characters, naturally comes a lot of voice actors. While all of the iconic Japanese voice actors for the series are well known and properly credited, the same can't be said for the English and not to mention other language voice actors that lended their talents for the franchise. Some of these uncredited voice actors include Roger Craig Smith, Yuri Lowenthal, and other well-known anime voice actors. Dynasty Warriors 5 endings. Depending on the difficulty you complete a character's story mode on in Dynasty Warriors 5, you'll get a different ending quote. The quotes range from being low-key insulting when completing a story mode on easy to some pretty high praise for beating the game on chaos mode. Bootleg mobile games. While Dynasty Warriors has had a couple official mobile games, there are dozens and dozens of Dynasty Warriors bootleg games. I might just have to make a video on these someday. Typically, these are advertisement or microtransaction-filled garbage with character designs clearly inspired by the Dynasty Warriors characters. Dynasty Warriors 2 Free Mode Code. Being an old game, Dynasty Warriors 2 has cheat codes. They're mostly used to unlock characters, but there is one cool code that allows you to choose whatever side in whatever battle you want to be on. You can fight in an enemy army that would be impossible to fight with otherwise in the standard story mode. Ambition mode only conversations. Dynasty Warriors 8 is a great game for a lot of reasons, but one reason is its attention to detail. This is highlighted perfectly with Ambition mode, where certain pairs of characters will have completely unique dialogue with each other not found elsewhere in the game. Some dialogue is between characters that would never interact otherwise, which is really cool. Kai Wenjai's Erhu. For Western Dynasty Warriors fans, Kai Wenjai's debut was in Dynasty Warriors 7 along with her harp weapon. However, Wenjai actually debuted in the Asia-only release Shinsengoku Musou Multi-Raid 2, the sequel to Dynasty Warriors Strike Force. In Multi-Raid 2, Wenjai uses an Erhu, I think that's how you pronounce that, as her weapon. As of making this video, the Erhu weapon has never returned to the series in any form and may never return. Death by sitting. In a game about war spanning over half a century, there's going to be a lot of deaths. Throughout the Dynasty Warriors games, there have been plenty of iconic death cutscenes, but in Dynasty Warriors 9, a lot of characters just die sitting and talking. And the way they sit just sucks out any emotion that could possibly be felt about the death. Dynasty Warriors 4 Hulao Gate opens. In Dynasty Warriors 4, if you fail the objective to open Hulao Gate, the gate just opens anyway, leaving Yuan Shao and the player very confused. Disc swap. Back in the PS2 era, Dynasty Warriors had a pretty cool disc swap system. If you owned both the Dynasty Warriors game and its Extreme Legends game, you could carry over your progress from one game to the other by literally swapping the discs in your PS2 when prompted. Yu Jin and Li Dian's voice actor. Yu Jin and Li Dian are relative newcomers to the franchise, but their defining character traits are that the two of them are best friends. Since they are best friends and are almost always fighting together and interacting, it is kind of awkward that Dynasty Warriors 9 gave the two the same English voice actor. They sound very similar to say the least.
If we're talking about faults, I was not as patient as I should have been. That's not what I meant. I'm sorry to have brought this up again. Forgive me. There's the castle up ahead.
Meat buns. Meat buns are a common health item found in almost, if not every, Dynasty Warriors game. They are also often used for comedic situations. Realism. One of the many problems with Dynasty Warriors 9 is the amount of shared movesets between characters and the lack of some iconic weapons from the series' past. In an interview, producer Akihiro Suzuki said that many weapons weren't brought back for the sake of realism. This, unsurprisingly, did not go over well with fans, and why should it? Why should a game where you murder thousands of soldiers in minutes have any concern with realism? It was just a blatant lie. Dynasty Tactics outfits in Dynasty Warriors 3. In Dynasty Warriors 3, you can unlock certain characters' outfits from Dynasty Tactics 2. Cool little feature. Ugly children. In Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires, a feature was introduced where your character could have children with their spouse. The child's design would be randomized using a few base features from your character and their spouse, and the resulting design was almost always, well, very ugly. The Dynasty Warriors movie. Yes, there is an official Dynasty Warriors movie. It's not very good, the casting is generally pretty bad, the effects aren't impressive, many iconic characters are missing, and the movie introduced some nonsensical plot points to the Dynasty Warriors story. On the bright side though, the costumes are cool and the movie does feature some Dynasty Warriors music. The movie also teased a sequel, but I can't see that ever happening with the reception it got. Anarchronical lifespans and weapons. While Dynasty Warriors is historical fiction, it doesn't follow history very closely. Throughout the series, many characters use weapons that certainly did not exist in the time period. Several characters also live much longer than their actual lifespans as well, especially in the older games. April Fools. Every year, Koei Tecmo releases a Dynasty Warriors April Fool's joke. Some notable examples include a skinny Shu Shu, a female and unmasked Wei Yan, and Dion Wei with hair. Dynasty Warriors 4 Wei's Chirbi Fire Attack. In Dynasty Warriors 4, if you're playing as Wu or Shu and completely mess up the fire attack on Wei, Cao Cao will instead unleash his own fire attack against you. Spike the Baby. In the Romance of the Three Kingdoms novel, Zhao Yun rescues Liu Bei's son, Liu Shan, at the Battle of Changban. This is typically one of the most important battles in Dynasty Warriors. When Zhao Yun returns Liu Shan to Liu Bei drops his son in the novel in protest of Zhao Yun risking his life to rescue Liu Shan. While this never happens in the game, it's pretty fun to think of Goody Two-Shoes Liu Bei spiking a baby right in front of Zhao Yun. Tier 4. Multi-Raid 2 Characters. Shin Sengoku Musou Multi-Raid 2 features a few characters that would never again appear in a Dynasty Warriors game, though some of them would make it over to the Warriors Orochi series. Rise of Kingdoms collab. To promote Dynasty Warriors 9, Koei Tecmo agreed to an official crossover with Rise of Kingdoms that sent Lu Bu and Diao Chan into the mobile game. I've never played this game and never will, but their designs honestly aren't the worst thing I've ever seen. Character Image Songs. In Japan, Dynasty Warriors characters have what are called image songs. These are original songs created for these characters sung by their Japanese voice actors. These songs don't actually appear in game, but they're typically available in separate albums. Some of them honestly slap. Dynasty Warriors Mahjong. There is a Dynasty Warriors Mahjong game. It has some cool music remixes in it. That's all I have to say about it. Dynasty Warriors 4 Huangzu. In Dynasty Warriors 4, Huangzu's portrait does not match his actual character model at the Battle of Xiakou. Could be a simple mistake, but it's a little odd. Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires English Voice Glitch. For some reason, a single English voice line can be found in Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires, a game that only has a Japanese dub. Diao Chan's Defection. In Dynasty Warriors 3, if you are Dong Zhuo on Hulao Gate and all of your officers are defeated besides Dong Zhuo, Lu Bu, and Diao Chan will defect against you and say a couple unfitting voice lines. Clearly, the developers didn't plan for many players to get this event. Dynasty Warriors 4 Beta. There's a Dynasty Warriors 4 beta that you can technically play right now. It's all in Japanese, but it features quite a few differences from the full release, like some soundtrack changes for example. It's a cool piece of Warriors history, and I'm glad it's archived on the internet. Dynasty Warriors 3 Unused Content. Dynasty Warriors 3 has a lot of unused content, mostly in the form of unused dialogue. There are certain stages only featured for a handful of characters in their Musou mode, but for some reason Koei ended up recording voice lines for characters that were never meant to be playable there. Dummy. In Dynasty Warriors 5 on the Tianshui battle, when you go to fight Jiang Wei, a text box will appear that just says dummy. It's almost certainly a placeholder where a voice line from Jiang Wei was supposed to play. Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive characters. In Dynasty Warriors Strike Force, Ryu Hayabusa and Ayane from Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive both appear as guest characters. Shinsen Goku Musou Blast. Shinsen Goku Musou Blast is a strange mobile spin-off game released only in Japan. The game itself isn't notable and it only lasted a couple years, but what the game gave us were dozens of official portraits and designs for generic characters. Some of these designs went on to be used on playable characters, most notably with the 4 unique NPCs in Dynasty Warriors 9. Suma Zhao and Wang Yuanji. Suma Zhao and Wang Yuanji are the power couple of Jin in the newer Dynasty Warriors games. Everyone knows that if you defeat Diao Chan, Lu Bu will chase after you, but did you know that Xiao and Yuanji apparently have a similar mechanic? If you defeat Wang Yuanji in Dynasty Warriors 7, Suma Zhao will charge straight for you in revenge. Guojia as Dante. In Dynasty Warriors 8, Guojia's alternate costume looks suspiciously similar to a certain Devil May Cry character. The best Dynasty Warriors game. With the Dynasty Warriors franchise having well over 20 games, there is a constant debate among fans on which game is best. Certain games do stand out from the rest, but each game is good and bad in its own ways. If you ask me though, the best game is definitely Dynasty Warriors 5. The Forest Lady. In the Dynasty Warriors movie, a brand new character officially called the Master of the Swordforge Castle was introduced, though she might be better known as the Forest Lady. She was created as a way to explain the character's Musou attacks, but it just felt really forced and unnecessary in my opinion, since she is not mentioned in any Dynasty Warriors game. Is Guan Ping adopted? In the Romance of the Three Kingdoms novel, Guan Ping is the adopted son of Guan Yu. In actual history, it's unclear if Guan Ping was adopted or not. In Dynasty Warriors, it's back and forth. In a couple games, Guan Ping is stated to be adopted, but in other games, it's not mentioned whatsoever. This also isn't helped by the fact that Guan Ping looks a lot like Guan Yu and Guan Yu's other biological children. Shu Zhu in the wrong outfit. For some reason, in Cao Cao's ending in Dynasty Warriors 5, Shu Zhu is wearing his outfit from Dynasty Warriors 4. This would be a really strange and difficult mistake to make, so maybe this is just an Easter egg given Shu Zhu's past Easter eggs? Tier 5. Voice Actor Strike. We've already talked about Dynasty Warriors 9 and its frankly awful voice acting, but what's the cause behind Koei Tecmo bringing in an entirely new English voice acting cast? Many fans speculate it was because of the 2016-2017 voice actor union strike. While there's no concrete proof to confirm this, many Dynasty Warriors 9 voice actors have come out and said they had to perform lines on an extremely tight time crunch with no beforehand preparation. Couple that with the fact that all of these voice actors were unknown at the time, I think it all points to the voice actor strike being to blame. Suma Zhao is adopted. In Dynasty Warriors 7, Suma Zhao looks almost nothing like his father, Suma Yi, and his brother, Suma Shi. He also acts nothing like them either, being polar opposites to the two of them. This was somewhat fixed in Dynasty Warriors 8, where Suma Zhao's mother, Zhang Chunhua, shares his likeness, but it's still fun to think that Suma Zhao might not even be a true Suma at all. Ma Dai and Wei Yan. Two generals Ma Dai and Wei Yan are good friends in Dynasty Warriors. This most likely is a sort of dark inside joke by Omega Force, as in actual history, Wei Yan was killed by Ma Dai after Wei Yan betrayed Shu. Butai Shin Sengoku Musou. There were multiple Japanese live-action plays performed based off of Dynasty Warriors 9. I don't know if any recordings of these plays exist, but what I do know is that these plays had some of the most faithful video game costume recreations that I have ever seen. Dynasty Warriors 4 Concept Art. There is a really cool collection of character concept art created for Dynasty Warriors 4. Some of these designs include several now playable characters like Chen Gong, Guojia, and Xun Yu, and generics like Zhuge Jin, King Mulu, and Cao Hong. For some characters, you can really tell how this concept art influenced their modern designs. Jin was supposed to be purple. Jin's color is currently a teal and light blue color to highlight the fact that they are in actuality just an offshoot of Wei. However, Jin's color was originally supposed to be purple. This can be seen in Dynasty Warriors Online, where Jin's color was purple at first, and also with Suma Yi's designs in older games. Up until Dynasty Warriors 7 and the introduction of Jin, Suma Yi always wore purple to set himself apart from Wei. 2008 Olympics. I haven't been able to find any footage to confirm this, but allegedly at the 2008 Beijing Olympics, the Dynasty Warriors 6 track Spring of the East was played during one of the events. I've seen it pop up on a few separate message boards, so I'm inclined to believe it happened. Dynasty Warriors 9 Steam 100% glitch. I can't confirm this myself, but apparently there is a glitch on the Steam version of Dynasty Warriors 9 where you literally cannot 100% the game. Allegedly, there is a single soundtrack of the game, the character unlock theme, that will never play in the game, which means you can't unlock it in the sound gallery and 100% max out the sound gallery. If you've been able to 100% Dynasty Warriors 9 on Steam, let me know in the comments. Dynasty Warriors 4 Infinite Horses. In Dynasty Warriors 4, there is a co-op mode glitch where you can spawn an infinite amount of horses. There are actually a number of glitches involving horses, including players disappearing and also riding invisible horses too. Dynasty Warriors 4 Escape the Arena. This game has a versus co-op mode where two players fight against each other. In this mode, it's actually possible to escape the arena on the Stone Sentinel Maze map at Yiling. Once you escape the map, you can explore the rest of the map as if it were a normal battle. Shipping. Dynasty Warriors is a game with over 100 characters. Many of these characters are single, not that that matters at all, but shipping happens. A lot of shipping happens. Capcom lawsuit. Back in Tier 3, I mentioned the disc swap feature that older Warriors games used to have with their Extreme Legends counterpart games. The reason this feature stopped, aside from the switch to more standard DLC format, is because of a Capcom lawsuit. Capcom patented the technology used for disc swap features, despite not actually using those features on any of their own games as far as I know. It was a really stupid lawsuit that never should have got off the ground, but in the end, Koei Tecmo had to pay $1 million to Capcom, which is really pennies for these massive companies. This lawsuit effectively killed any chance of disc swap coming back to Koei Tecmo games. Xiaohodun's Eye cutscene. Xiaohodun is the iconic one-eyed general of Wei. Most, if not all, Dynasty Warriors games typically portray how he lost his eye. In most games, it's a harmless cutscene where he pulls the arrow out and bravely keeps fighting. In Dynasty Warriors 1 though, you get to see, well, you watch it. Trigger warning. Motion capture. Dynasty Warriors 1 has some pretty good animations, and apparently that's because some of the animations were done using motion capture. Since later Dynasty Warriors games use these animations, you could argue all of the early Dynasty Warriors games features mocap in some form. I'm also pretty sure Dynasty Warriors 6 used motion capture for its animations, as some of them are extremely fluid and realistic. Tier 6. Xiaoji. Xiaoji debuted in Dynasty Warriors 9 as a unique NPC and eventually became playable through DLC. She is easily the most controversial character in Dynasty Warriors history and was the topic of countless arguments in the Warriors fandom after her reveal. Why is this? Well, small trigger warning. In the actual history, Xiaoji was a family member of Wei General Xiahou Yuan, who, at the age of around 13, was kidnapped by Shu General Zhang Fe and forced to marry him. She would eventually become the mother of Xing Sai. As if that wasn't bad enough, Dynasty Warriors portrays her as a sheltered child, now married to a full-grown adult in Zhang Fe and in a loving relationship with him. Her children, Xing Sai and Zhang Bao, both look older than her. It's frankly a disgusting portrayal and the worst sugarcoating of history done in Dynasty Warriors in my opinion. Gan Ning looking for the kid. Trigger warning again, in Dynasty Warriors 7 there's an event with Gan Ning where he is upset and searching for a child. No other context is given. Well, what this event is in reference to is an incident between Gan Ning, Lu Meng, and one of Gan Ning's child servants. The servant, a small boy, made some kind of mistake and was scared of what Gan Ning would do to him because of it. Gan Ning is well known as a bloodthirsty, ill-tempered person. The boy ran off to Lu Meng for protection. When Gan Ning and Lu Meng spoke about the boy, Gan Ning acted pleasant as if nothing was wrong. Lu Meng returned the boy to Gan Ning, only for Gan Ning to then take the boy, tie him to a tree, and shoot him to death with a bow. Lu Meng apparently wanted to kill Gan Ning for what he did to the boy, so good for Lu Meng. Strikeforce Multi-Raid 3 Theory. There's a theory that a third Strikeforce game was in development around the same time as Dynasty Warriors 7. The evidence for this is found in the DLC for Warriors Orochi 3. In this DLC, the Fury form designs from Strikeforce were added into the game. Every character from Multi-Raid 2 had their design brought over to Warriors Orochi 3, but even more importantly, almost all of the new characters added in Dynasty Warriors 7 also got completely brand new Fury mode designs. Now it's possible that Omega Force created these new designs purely for Warriors Orochi 3 DLC, but Omega Force's track record of laziness suggests that these designs were made for a Strikeforce 3, Strikeforce 3 then got cancelled, and they needed to use the new designs for something. Incest shipping. Shipping isn't all that happens in the Dynasty Warriors fandom. There also is, for some reason, incest shipping as well. Famitsu is paid off. Famitsu is one of Japan's premier gaming magazines, especially in the West. Famitsu is perhaps most known for their game reviews and ratings, and I find these ratings very suspicious, especially when it comes to Koei games. Famitsu rates games out of 40 possible total points. Here are some Koei games rated by Famitsu. Dynasty Warriors 8, beloved by fans, is rated 36 out of 40. Dynasty Warriors 9, a game that many would consider objectively worse than 8 in almost every way, is rated 35 out of 40. Dynasty Warriors 6, despised by most fans, is a 33 out of 40. Dynasty Warriors 4, the best-selling game in the series, is a 36 out of 40. Do you see what I mean now? These games vary wildly in quality, but the score hardly ever changes. Maybe this is an open secret or something, but it seems clear to me that Famitsu is being paid off in some way to leave at least a decent review on every single Koei game. Li Dian is bisexual. Li Dian and Yu Jin are best friends in Dynasty Warriors. Since the two were added together, they are seen together in almost all of their appearances. That, in and of itself, does not mean there's any romance between them, but some of Li Dian's voice lines definitely suggest he might have a thing for Yu Jin, or, well, anyone really.
I think I'm in love. Forget I said anything.
Wen Yang is a reincarnation of Zhao Yun. Wen Yang is a relatively new character in Dynasty Warriors fighting for the Jin faction. He happens to be in many ways eerily similar to the series poster boy Zhao Yun with their weapons, mannerisms, appearance, and so on. Wen Yang's entire existence revolves around the fact that there are no more heroes in the land by the time he is fighting. Zhao Yun did die before Wen Yang was born, so Wen Yang being a reincarnation could definitely be something Koei is implying. Sugarcoating of graphic events. Being based on ancient China, there are obviously a lot of horrific events that happen in Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Trigger warning, but some of these events include cannibalism, kidnapping, the standard horrors and crimes of war, a ridiculous amount of suicide, both forced and not forced, and mass executions of entire generations of families. Almost all of this is glossed over or danced around, for example Xiaohoji, which we already talked about, or some events are simply referenced to, like Ganning and the Child. And that's the iceberg. If I missed any...
Sorry about that. As I was saying, if I missed any obscure Dynasty Warriors facts, please let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, Warriors!